in the and a U.S. Army veteran in World War II. And whereas John D. Dingle Jr. succeeded his father, John Dingle Sr., in representing the 15th District of Michigan in the United States House of Representatives, being elected as the youngest member of the 84th Congress in 1955. And whereas John D. Dingle Jr. dedicated his entire life to public service and became the longest tenured congressman in United States history, serving a total of 59 years and 22 days. And whereas the popular congressman won 30 elections by an average of 73%. And whereas in John D. Dingle Jr.'s distinguished career, he chaired and served on many prominent committees, co-sponsored legislation creating the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, co-sponsored the bill creating Medicare, and authored the National Environmental Policy Act. Whereas John D. Dingle Jr. was a devoted husband to Deborah, his wife of 38 years, and a loving father to his 4 children, Christopher, John, Jean, and Jennifer. Whereas John D. Dingle Jr. loved his country and lived a life of distinguished service until his passing on February 7, 2019. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Van Buren Township Board of Trustees honors the remarkable life of John D. Dingle Jr.
I would love it if you'd say a few words, but I know about, I know when everybody's talked to John Lee, whenever he's talked about you, that he felt you were the love of his life. And he always used to talk about the fact that he finally met somebody that had all the same interests, and every day they would spend every day talking about the same things. And he was just so proud whenever he talked about you. Oh.
I want to thank all of you.
Mhm.
He loved you. He loved Van Buren. He loved your dad.
Yeah.
I can't talk. I'm trying to get. If I'm working, I'm okay. If I've had a bad week because I really miss him. But I love you all for loving him. Thank you for this honor, and thank you for loving him. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we're going to step out of line a little bit here. I'd like to call up our K-9 unit. Director Lorraine, could you please bring in Jace? And we're bringing Jace in now because we'd like to get Jace back out of here. Yeah, back to work. Officer Barry, hey.
With the police department, this is our partner K9 Jace here.
And you're going to talk about the fact that he just got a grant for a brand new vest.
Yeah, he just got a bulletproof vest by way of donation through the Officer Colin Rose Memorial Fund and vested interest in K9 out of Massachusetts. It was a lengthy application process that Deputy Director Wright and Director Lorraine helped me out with, and we had to go through several approvals to get this, and we just got it a couple weeks ago.
Can you talk a little bit about the Jace's mission?
Yeah, Jace is certified by National Association of Professional Canine Handlers and the Canine Academy Training Facility out of Taylor, Michigan. We are certified in narcotic detection, tracking, both suspects and missing persons. We also do evidence and article searches, and we're trained in apprehension as well. We do a lot of beatings.
Okay.
The future goal for this is to get them into the schools, get them out into the public, kind of help open lines of communication between the Public Safety Department and the public we serve.
Wonderful. Okay. Anybody want to say anything about?
He's in here today thinking, what am I doing here? I'm surrounded by all these people.
Keep him any longer. I'm sure he's got a lot of work to do.
He's been pretty hyper today, but he's doing good.
Yeah.
He's targeting somebody now.
Well, thank you very much for bringing him by. And we're pretty proud of the fact. I mean, I can't remember what that vest cost, but I think it was like $2,500.
Yeah,
So
it's between like $1,800 and $2,300.
okay.
Officer Colin Rose Memorial Fund pays
Mm-hmm.
and then vested interest in Canine is a company that basically provides a lot of medical equipment and canine protective vests for law enforcement agencies throughout the country, and they pick up the rest of the cost.
Okay.
They basically give us a sizing form. We go ahead and size them,
Mm-hmm.
and we give them that information, and then they send it down to their bulletproof vest manufacturer down in Fort Myers, Florida, which is Survival Armor,
Mm-hmm.
and it's custom fit to him. It's not a one-size-fits-all vest. It's tailored just for him.
Okay. We're sending a letter of thanks to the charity on behalf of the board. So,
Excellent. Thank you.
okay.
I nominate Jace for the Officer of the Month, Van Buren Township.
He's my officer of the month every month. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Officer
All
Barry.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to be moving on here. Congresswoman, we're about to get into some long, boring business of the township. If you really, I know that. Yeah, well, actually, otherwise you're going to be here for hours. Thank you very much for coming out. Thank you. Bye, Congresswoman. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Next item is an executive summary of the meeting. First, we'll be hearing what we call the consent agenda. These are items that the board agreed to yesterday. They're more housekeeping. Besides paying the daily bills, we'll also be granting permission for a home to be zoned as it should be, in a residential area. It says industrial now. And we'll be granting permission to one of our homeowners to tie into Romulus's water. Their well went dry. They need some water, and they're right next to Romulus's. Their neighbors are already on it. So these will be on the consent agenda. We'll then be discussing for approval the use and purchase of body cameras for our officers. We currently don't have that. We are looking at bringing that forward if the board agrees today. We also will be approving a lawn mowing contract, and finally, we will be making a decision on a resolution. This resolution will be attached to a grant, and that grant is to run the Iron Bell Trail along whichever direction the board decides tonight, and where it's going to go in our community. So that'll be the final item. Moving on. Move on to the adoption of the revised agenda. Trustee White, could you please make the motion?
I make a motion that we approve the adoption of the consent agenda, which consists of the following. Adoption of the regular, I move that we adopt the regular agenda as presented.
All right, I have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Sorry, I have a little cheat sheet here, and I missed that one. Trustee White, could you make the adoption of the consent agenda?
I move that we adopt our consent agenda, which consists of item number 1, the work study meeting minutes of March 18, 2019. Item number 2, the board meeting minutes of March 19, 2019. Item number 3, the closed meeting minutes of March 22nd, 2019. Item number 4, the prepaid list of March 31st, 2019. Consent agenda item number 5, the prepaid list of March 28th, 2019. Item number 6, the prepaid list of April 4th, 2019. Consent agenda item number 7, the prepaid list of April 11, 2019. Consent agenda item number 8, the voucher list of April 2nd, 2019. Consent agenda item number 9, the voucher list of April 16th, 2019. Consent agenda item number 10, approval of resolution 2019-06, the resolution to release parcel 83-122-09-0005-71 from the Bonatti Farmland Development Rights Agreement 82-64338-12312. And the final consent agenda item number 11, the approval of an agreement with the owner of 39591 Price and the city of Romulus granting permission for connection to the water system in the city of Romulus.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee White and supported by trustee Miller. Hearing no objection, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is public hearing. We have none. Next item is correspondence, announcements, and presentations. Trustee Frazier, would you like to start?
Okay. My announcement is about the 2019 yard waste season, which starts the week of April 1st. It's already in process. 32-gallon cans must have a yard waste sticker on them. And you face the sticker toward the street and place the container 5 feet from your garbage container. And there's a 50-pound limit. You'll have to bundle all your branches that are less than 6 inches in diameter and can't weigh more than 50 pounds. We've got weaklings, I don't know. And bundles must be no longer than 4 feet in length and 18 inches around. Brush larger than 6 inches in diameter must still be bundled. However, it is considered trash. You can pick up one of these flyers. They do have these flyers at the library. I think the Chamber of Commerce have some, and you can pick up one here at the township in the recreation department back there. So just get your yard waste out there. It's time to do yard work. Hopefully, spring is here. We'll see.
Trustee Miller?
Yes, this is from the Van Buren Township Department of Public Safety. Dated April 14th, National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. The second week of April is recognized each year as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, bringing well-deserved attention and recognition to the public safety dispatchers who are an invaluable part of the emergency response team, assuring rapid response by police, fire, EMS personnel in the midst of emergencies. The men and women who take care of all the 911 calls and send assistance are often overlooked for the critical role that they play in coordinating first response and life-saving efforts. Van Buren Township and Belleville Police and Fire Departments rely on our dispatch center personnel for 911 and dispatching services. Emergency dispatchers play such a critical role here in our ability to assist community members in times of crisis and have a highly difficult and an incredible important job to do. The men and women at our dispatch center are a vital part, once again, of our public safety team, and we appreciate the work that they do each and every day. National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week.
Okay. Treasurer Bud?
Mine is a congratulation to my deputy treasurer. He has once again become a certified public finance administrator. It started out as a three-year training program that we go through. He was first certified in 2004, and he has had to keep up classes and recertify every 5 years. So he has recertified in 9, 14, and 2019, and he is now certified again, and he is now a certified public finance administrator. He is a fine deputy. Couldn't ask for anybody. Sean, thank you very much, and we do appreciate him.
And in my office, Linda Stevenson's there. She's our assessing coordinator. She's our, she has just attained a level 4 assessor. Level 4s are highly rare. In the state of Michigan, there was only 8 that got enrolled into that class, and she was the only one that made it through. So my hat's off to Linda Sesser. We're very lucky to have her with the township. Clerk Wright?
The only thing I have is that to announce the administrative offices of Van Buren Township will be closed Friday, April 19th, in observance of Good Friday. Thanks.
Everybody else? Trustee White?
What's free today? Not much, but on Saturday, June the 1st, 2019, Van Buren Township is sponsoring a free tire disposal. June the 1st, 2019, that's a Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. here at Township Hall. You can call 699-8926 for further information. However, we are limiting it to 6 residential tires per household. That's residential tires, not heavy-duty tires, anything else would be cars, vehicles, and things of that nature. So limit 7 per household. June the 1st, Saturday. 7. That's what my paper says, 7. Odd number, right? It should be 8, but
Some-
it's 7.
yeah.
So just say it's 7.
Okay. So, Nicole, did you just have up the drug take back box? Could you put that back up for this on the screen? We didn't do that, did we?
Second.
Okay, yeah, we now have a drug take back box in our police lobby. If you've got prescription drugs, just come on in and drop them off here. Detroit Wayne Mental Health offered these boxes for free, and so we picked one up. So don't leave them around your house. There's a lot of problems with drugs. If you've got old drugs, bring them in and drop them off, please. That'd be nice. It'll be there 24/7. They're open, like all police stations. Thank you. That'll be it for that. All right. Next, I guess, is the presentation of the State of the Township address. And since it was videotaped this year, instead of listening to me speak, I believe it's about 15 minutes, and we do it once a year. And so we have the videotape presentation. Nicole, could you begin it? I believe we're offline now. Welcome, I'm Kevin McNamara, and I'm the Van Buren Township Supervisor. I'm sorry I had a scheduling conflict and I could not be there today. I first of all, though, remember that I have to thank my board. My board works very hard. They care a great deal about Van Buren Township and the residents. Nothing gets done without the board's help and their input, and quite frankly, they have to put up with me quite a bit too. So not an easy job being a trustee here in Van Buren Township. Van Buren Township did have a good start though in 2018. In January 2018, our first act of business was to buy a $1.2 million fire truck. Conversely, in December of 2018, our last act of duty was to buy a brand new fire truck. That paired with our fire truck in 2017 means that we have 3 brand new trucks, $1.2 million and $340,000 and $340,000 truck. I can't imagine anybody having a more modern frontline firefighting force. I asked Chief Brow if it was more modern than Ann Arbor's force, and she said absolutely. So we do have a more modern force. We have a great group there. We didn't just do that though. We fixed up the fire stations. We renovated them. We put in new carpeting, new LED lights, new electrical, some new furniture. We basically gave them a once-over. We're going to start taking care of our facilities the way they should be. That goes with our new dive trailer that we got the year before, our new boat, our new dispatch that we completely renovated and have just turned on and hooked up to some high-speed internet. All that's running right. Public safety's pretty much rebuilt. We've got a few more things, little things that we want to do, but the big ticket items now pretty much are done. Of course, equipment is nothing compared to what people are. People are the real thing that make everything work. And we're really happy to tell you that we've got 4 years of cost control and stability. We have contracts now with all of our major unions. We have the AFSCME union, which is non-police and fire. They've agreed to 4 years, so has the police, and so have the firefighters, and so has the command officers. And they accepted rates that were fair. They cared about our community too. They're basically getting 2% per year over 4 years, 8% works out to, which is fair. It's about what inflation is, it's about what our growth is, it's about what our tax situation is. So it's a constant against our budget. We're good there. I have to mention my clerk because my clerk is my partner, my full-time partner, along with the treasurer in the working of the township. He was awarded the MTA's Township of Excellence in Election Administration. Election administration is a big deal for the clerk, of course. And with Proposal 3 that just passed, it's going to be a bigger deal because absentee voting is about to happen. Now you can go basically sign up for absentee voting for any reason, anytime. You don't need one, just go out there. So there's no excuse not to vote. Go there, vote by mail, get it done. He also has a lot of other regular duties like processing FOIAs, cemeteries, paying the bills, and taking care of payroll for all the employees. The treasurer, the other full-time partner over here at the Township Hall, she's very busy all the time. She runs her office very well. She's also applying for some MTA Township Excellence Awards. I'm sure she's going to get them, but they've just been applied. In 2018, the Treasury Department processed 37,000 separate cash receipt transactions. That's an average of almost 155 transactions a day. She does a lot of cash transactions. She's always on target. After 38, 39 years, when I count my blessings, I count Sherry Budd twice. She is just amazing for us. She knows how the budget works, and I really, really am thankful for her. Business, well, business is booming still in Van Buren Township. We are blessed with a perfect position with two major freeways, many off-ramps, stuck right between Ann Arbor and booming Detroit. Menards finally got open. Constellium is growing. Miser's growing. Morgan Chase is growing. Costco's expanding. We're becoming the new data center for the Midwest for banks. We've got a U.S. Signal that's moving in. And Subaru, who's one of the iconic car companies for millennials, they love that brand like it's, like Thanos loves Infinity Stones. Subaru has moved into our town, and their new headquarters, North American headquarters for research and development, is here in Van Buren, and we're very, very proud to have them here. Finances, we're very good. We're good, but the seven-figure surpluses that we had last year, the $1.9 million, they're gone. Our board has decided to aggressively start budgeting for long-term debt and to pay off capital improvements as they occur. To give you an example, we put $100,000 a year away for fire trucks. We just bought 3. It'll be 20 years or 15 years before we need another fire truck. 20 years before we need to replace all 3 of them. But in that 20-year period, we're going to need $2 million worth of fire equipment. So we're putting our money away now to pay for it. We're doing that for facilities. We're doing that for all of our big ticket purchases. Besides spending $1.2 million this year on a new fire truck, we also took $1.5 million and we transferred it to long-term debt. We also are building up our retiree medical. We're showing fiscal discipline by paying for things as they happen. We have what's called a CIP Plus program, which is an example of that. This is upgrading the administration building, which has not been upgraded in 25 years. New phones, new electrical, new AC, heaters, tile, paint. We're upgrading our audiovisual in the boardroom. We're also looking at things around here that haven't been replaced in 25 years, like our border signs, welcome to Van Buren. They're pretty much gone. We are ordering new ones right now. It's little things like that that make a community. People notice it when you've got a sign that's hanging and it's rusted and everything else. We need to fix our front doors up, and that's what we're working on, is our front doors. We're also aggressively pursuing alternative methods of financing high quality of life of community amenities, and we're doing it through grants and partnerships. Remember that, because that's what you're going to hear from us a lot in the future. The biggest grant and partnership is our water and sewer. It's a $100 million item in Van Buren Township. We got a grant from the state of Michigan for $770,000 to assess the system. We're still working at it, but everybody in the state of Michigan is going to have to do this. The interesting thing is that we thought ahead, and we went after one of the first grants, we got it. This is one of the reasons why we have the lowest water rates in the region. How low are they? I literally carry my water bill around with me just to show off how low my water rates are. Iron Belt Trail is another one of those partnership grant things. Phase 1 is getting built right now. It's in the books. It's going to go from Belleville Road to the Riggs Park, and it's going to run along Huron River Drive. This is being built from $330,000 from Michigan State grants, and it's going to have $30,000 from the county, and we're going to kick in $100,000 from the Township of Van Buren for that section. But we're moving up. We've got Waterloo Pathways Group, which is starting to work with us and helping us out. They've kicked in about $50,000 in engineering for the next slated section of Iron Belt Trail, which is picking the way we go. And it appears that they're slating this in for up to $600,000 in additional grants. We're also working with the state of Michigan for more money from them. April 8th at the high school, we're going to have a town hall meeting regarding Iron Belt Trail. I think if you're a biker or a walker and are interested in this, I think you should come out. We also want to do some offshoots on the Iron Belt Trail to take in some of the subdivisions. The first offshoot's going to go south on Martinsville, and it's going to go to the Country Walk HOAs group. That'll bring in a large portion of our HOAs and connect them with our favorite city, Belleville. We also have another partnership grant. We have a summer youth jobs, which we call the Reel. The Reel is pretty awesome. Teach kids life skills. So last year they actually had a team building exercise where they built a cardboard sailboat and had to sail it across a pool. And it was a competition amongst teams. But they have meetings where they have companies come in and teach them life skills, teach them about accounting and other areas that are important for kids to learn about. And they have discussions about it. So it's really a lot of more than just cleaning up the area. But they do clean the cemeteries. They do help seniors stay in their homes. Seniors cry when they get these things done because they never thought that they'd have their gardens back or their house be able to access their front door because it was so cluttered. And it's amazing how much good they do. We're doing this with a grant from the Detroit Wayne Mental Health Authority, which is a wonderful group, and they have a lot of fun doing it. Detroit Wayne County Mental Health also provides Narcan for all of our police departments in Southwest Wayne County. We're also getting it for our fire departments, and we're getting it for our schools. Belleville Schools got it. Trustee Miller is spearheading an opioid education forum, which we're going to have in about a month. We're going to do some opioid education. We're going to teach anybody that wants to come to it how to use Narcan. And we're going to give them a $100 Narcan kit to take home. You know, if you've got somebody that thinks they may need Narcan, it might not be a bad idea for them to show up at this meeting. Learn what they can do to help, and just in case it doesn't work, get a Narcan kit. The DDA Placemaking Initiative, which is a millennial park on Belleville Road, that is a partnership with the DDA. At any rate, it's going to allow homeowners associations and businesses to have a place to go meet. And also, millennials can go park there, have lunch, relax, and talk. I never got that park until I was explaining it to a millennial who said that's interesting, but he'd never use it. But then I told him there was going to be Wi-Fi in the park, and his ears perked up. He said, "You're going to have a park with Wi-Fi? I'll be there every day." So now I'm calling it the Wi-Fi Park. Okay. And also the DDA built the overpass. The I-94 overpass had another partnership with the state of Michigan, $500,000. The DDA is an amazing group. We're so happy that they're here. The biggest thing, of course, that they're doing is the Van Buren Splash Park. The Van Buren Splash Park is going to be going onto Quirk Park. It's going to be over 6,000 square feet of splash park. It'll be the largest splash park in the area, and it will be absolutely free. Van Buren kids should not have to go to other communities to get premium recreation facilities. And we're going to start working on that. Now, this is a partnership with DDA, who's putting up $480,000 and taking the lead. The residents of Van Buren Township are putting up $270,000, and the Van Buren Civic Fund is putting up $200,000. This is their largest donation ever. They love this idea. It was designed for the children of Van Buren, this fund, and I don't know if the Civic Fund members are out there right now, but I wish they could stand and get a big round of applause. Gonna hold off while somebody gives them an applause. Civic Fund, yay. Thank you very much. Another partnership was with Wayne County and the federal government, and that's $180,000 that we built a new pavilion out at Van Buren Township Park. We also had a $60,000 grant, CDBG, which we use for our playscape out at Van Buren Township Park. Again, partnerships and grants. McBride Road, Wayne County Grant Initiative, $500,000 plus on McBride Road, done. We've got some more money, about $700,000 for private roads. Sheldon Road, I believe, right now is looking at doing that, but they haven't gotten their paperwork fully in yet. If anybody's interested in redoing the road, Running out of time, you're up against Sheldon. We're also worked with Wayne County. We've gathered almost $90,000 for park money from Wayne County and grant funds, and we haven't even programmed it yet. We know about where it's going to go. It's probably going to have to go to the MDNR park initially, just some of it, 20 or 30,000. The MDNR park is another partnership. DNR came along, and we asked for a grant to purchase that property, and they came back and says, we'll give you a deal that'll make you so happy that you'll take it. And they did. $750,000 was the open market price for the 3+ acres in the lake, and they offered it to us for $22,000. I'll take that deal. So in closing, I just want to state that we had a great year last year. We're going to have an even better year this year. A lot of last year was setting us up for this year. Iron Bell Trail, the Splash Park, the MDNR site. We're looking at possibly a community center. We've got more upgrades to our public safety. We're doing this all through partnerships and grants. We're doing a wonderful job at it. We've got a lot of nice things coming at you this year. We've got music in the park. We've got a great big band group that's going to open up all of our parks with 200 volunteers. More things that are going to happen this year, and next year it's just going to keep on getting bigger and better. I thank you very much for listening to me, and God bless you all. Thank you. As you can tell, it was given a couple weeks ago, so figured better that way than listening to me speak. All right, we're all set with that. Next item is there any other correspondence or announcements from the board members? Is there any correspondence or announcements from the public? Moving on, we're on to public comment. This section is, how are we gonna do this?
New business. New business only.
It's new business only, but new business is the Iron Bell, and I think that half the people here want to speak on Iron Bell, correct?
It's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda last, and they probably want to speak at that time.
Well, let's
Well,
move
no,
it to the.
No, they speak now on any agenda item that's on the
Okay.
agenda.
All right. You know what? Let's move the Iron Bell to the beginning.
I make a motion.
You guys?
You don't have to move it. You can move. They speak now on anything that's on the agenda for new business. So if they want to speak on
Okay,
anything
but
that's
they'll
on the
speak, and
agenda.
then we'll be waiting for 30, 40 minutes before we actually get to the Iron Bell agenda.
That's the problem.
Let's be considerate of our residents.
Yeah, there's enough residents. Let's move it. We're gonna, can I get a motion to
I
move?
make a motion, we move the Iron Bell resolution to number 1 from number 5.
Support.
All right, I have a motion, I have support, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is now up. Okay, so right now, we're gonna do public comment, and the first item is going to be the Iron Bell Trail. Does anybody wish to speak from the public on the Iron Bell Trail? Come on up. We have to come up here and use the microphones. You're on TV.
That's better
Supervisor,
yet.
Trustees, I'm Charlene Brooks, and I'm from Country Pond Trail. And my question was from yesterday, you said that my concern, I'm not against the trail, but I am against if Country Pond has to assume responsibility. You said, and was said in the meeting yesterday, that the language would be put into the contract that we would not. Is that correct?
I can't speak for the board, but I would back that.
That was my concern, that it would be put in the proper language, that we would not be responsible nor liable for the maintenance or upkeep of that. Also, was there a density study or demographic study done on the residents on Savage Road and also Huron Road? And what year was that done?
I'd have to look over to engineers, PEA. Did you do anything like that?
We counted roofs of the houses along the route, just for sheer data to see what was along there.
Okay, so what was along there? I mean, how many houses, what's the, if you're gonna put a trail up and down the road, or, so what is the density on Savage Road as opposed to Martin's, Urine River Road? How many, and when was that study done?
Well, I can't speak to how many people live in those houses, but just your rooftops of houses, there's 23 homes along the east route here on River Drive where it would leave the downtown Belleville area to the park. And then there's approximately 70 houses if you went down Martinsville to Savage, down the I-10 corridor, down to Phoenix.
So are the
That's not counting
so,
houses in the subdivision.
so the subdivisions are not counted in that?
No.
Okay.
But in general, when we were looking at the route, just to clarify, that we generally look at the amount of houses in terms of there's usually a few percent of voices that have to buy their houses. So we look at that data, but by and large, we're looking to pick up neighborhoods and connect them to parks. So it's considered a positive to pick up like downtown Belleville and the denser areas around the center of Belleville and get them to the metro park. That was the primary goal of the project.
Okay, because I know yesterday you guys said it was a time conception on the grant money, and so that's why you were in a hurry to.
Let's speak about the time conception, because that was a question that was asked.
Uh-huh.
The time conception, I understand, is that they have to have this done by June 15th. We were asked initially to have it done by April 2nd, and go ahead.
Is this on?
But there's many things that have to be done between now and then.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, just introduce, I'm Jeff Smith from PEA. So the timing on this, there's two timing factors. If I could speak to that, one, we're in the middle of a planning process. There was a grant that started last year in 2017 and 18. We started that process and it finished when we got some input from some of the community on Huron River Drive that they want us to explore alternatives. That grant expired. We never really got to finish exploring all those alternatives. So then we got another grant this year that's being administered through the Huron Waterloo Pathways Initiative, and that was 4 times the size. That grant takes us through June 15th. So that's the June 15th deadline. We're about maybe 3/4 of the way through it. So we've spent about 1,000 hours of planning and analysis in this area, looking at the pathways. Where we're at now, the two pending deadlines are, we have completed the preliminary route analysis, come up with a recommendation that we've presented to you, we presented it to the public, gotten a lot of feedback on it. That one we feel is ready to move to preliminary engineering, but that's a major chunk of money of the grant, and we didn't want to do that till we got all the communities to sign off. And Ypsilanti Township seems okay with it, Belleville seems okay. We're formally looking for their acceptance as well, and then your acceptance. So that's what we're waiting on. The June 15th is when
We
that
have to have
grant
the preliminary engineering done by June 15th.
We have to have the preliminary engineering done by June 15th. And the reason why that needs to be done by June 15th is that triggers a next step in the process to move forward with further engineering and design, which would take about 6 to 8 months. Because at the end of all this, there is a pot of money sitting at the state for communities, and this is to your benefit, for communities that have shovel-ready iron bell projects. They have somewhere a little bit over $5 million, which is a lot of money, ready. If you had the project construction drawings and ready to bid today, they would most certainly hand it to you to build, which would be a tremendous benefit to build a pathway through your township. With that kind of money comes, you know. I don't have to tell you that kind of money doesn't always come. And it may not be there after 2020. So there's a push to wrap up these construction drawings by the end of the year. So we're under a lot of pressure to get it done by the end of the year. And, you know, as it moves on, the weeks go by, it gets more difficult and difficult to get there. So this is that step in the process. By the end of April, we wanted that done. Now, there's one other deadline that is May 1st, that the grant with Ron and Jennifer submitted a grant to the DNR, a mini grant for further planning and design. And there's a couple points in the township that on Denton Road where the road used to go over Willow Creek that's gone. And in some kind of more difficult areas of the pathway to do further planning and engineering. These are the questions that people have asked us in the town hall meetings. I'm like, well, I don't have that total answer because that's a further design and engineering exercise and permitting exercise you have to work with the state. So they applied for these 2 grants, $50,000 each. And in my discussion today with the DNR, that it's very likely you're going to get those, but they need to hand them out before May 1st. So the only reason you wouldn't get them is if you just wanted to continue looking at the planning process, which is something we'd encourage you. If you had a preliminary resolution on a route, that would almost guarantee you at least 50 grand and possibly $100,000 within the next 2 weeks to continue the process. And then if anything came up that we had to change the route, you're not committed to this until you actually pour concrete, right? So any changes, you just come back to the board.
Okay.
So those are the sense of urgencies. Sorry to monopolize
Nope,
your time.
you answered my question. No, you answered my question. And the second question, and I'm gonna sit down because somebody else wanted to talk. You said that if for some reason in the engineering, not the engineering process, but the process is that we get this grant, right? And we don't fulfill all of it. We don't owe the grant money back at all. We're not liable for that. The citizens of Van Buren, okay. Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak? Thank you. Name an organization for the record.
Good evening. My name's Evan Alexander. I'm the attorney for Country Pond Estates Condominium Association. I don't have a whole lot to add. You've heard from the constituents, concerns about traffic, safety, the amount of traffic on the various routes that are being discussed. I just want to point out a couple of things. One thing that was just mentioned, the number of homes that are along each of these various routes. I think it was about 24 that are along Huron River Drive. So you need to get the approval of those homeowners to either run the path through there, use eminent domain, or run it along the road right of way. Along the Savage Road, Route B, there would be about 70 homes that you'd need to work with to get that approval. Then I just want to confirm a couple of points. I believe these have already been made, but just want confirmation. There would be no cost for the maintenance, repair, or replacement of the pathway to the condominium or homeowners associations that abut the pathway. Is that correct?
Again, I can't speak for the board, but I don't think the board's plans on doing that at all.
And there is no intention of having those associations or the homeowners be responsible themselves for the maintenance, repair, or replacement of those pathways.
Believe that the testimony that the board heard pretty much agreed that we don't want to do that.
That
We
is
would
all
have to
that I-
pass resolutions, and the board would speak at that point.
That is all that I would like to clarify for now.
All right.
Thank you.
Supervisor.
Trustee White and then Frazier.
Oh, I was going to make the motion,
Oh, okay, is that it for the public comment?
evidently.
Okay.
I had a question on what he stated. It's my understanding that if we put the path through the right-of-way, it doesn't have to have the homeowner's approval. Is that correct? Because we own
Yes, please.
the right-of-way. The township does.
County.
County does.
Owners would not be responsible for maintaining that. They wouldn't be responsible for planning, and they weren't responsible, they wouldn't be liable for anything that happened on it either.
Because it's our responsibility.
Correct.
Okay.
The Trustee White for a motion.
Supervisor, I make a motion that we consider approval of Resolution 2019-07, a resolution for support of the Iron Bell Trail in the Charter Township of Van Buren. Resolution 2019-07, April 16, 2019. A resolution of support for the Iron Bell Trail in the Charter Township of Van Buren. The Charter Township of Van Buren, Wayne County, Michigan ordains, whereas the Charter Township of Van Buren recognizes the importance of providing a range of outdoor recreational opportunities to meet the needs of the residents, and whereas the Charter Township of Van Buren desires to advance the quality of local recreational opportunities by providing facilities that are universally accessible to residents and guests, and whereas the State of Michigan Department of Natural Resources is promoting the Iron Bell Trail, which comprises of a hiking route and bicycling route extending from the far western tip of the Upper Peninsula to Belle Isle in Detroit. Whereas the State of Michigan Department of Natural Resources has designated a portion of the hiking trail route to be in the Charter Township of Van Buren, and whereas an engineering firm, PEA Incorporated, has evaluated several alternate routes for the Iron Bell Trail to run through the Charter Township of Van Buren in an alignment study with the purpose of connecting the Washtenaw County portion of the route with the Lower Huron Metro Park. Whereas the Charter Township of Van Buren has held an informational meeting regarding the alignment study at Belleville High School on April 8, 2019, and received feedback from the residents who live adjacent to the potential routes of the trail. And whereas the Charter Township of Van Buren has received feedback from several residents who live in the vicinity of the proposed trail routes, Therefore, it be resolved that the Charter Township of Van Buren supports to further advance the Iron Belt Trail planning and design efforts within the township, and therefore, be it further resolved that the Charter Township of Van Buren endorses the route in the western half of the township, which extends north from the intersection of Ralstonville Road and Grove Road to the I-94 South Service Drive into Van Buren Park, extending east in Van Buren Park to Denton Road, and then extending east on Denton Road until trail enters the city of Belleville. And therefore, be it further resolved that the Charter Township of Van Buren endorses the route in the eastern half of the township. It extends east along East Huron River Drive to the east, then Edison Lake Road to the east across the Huron River, then north into French Landing Park to Haggerty Road, then south on Haggerty Road until the trail enters Lower Huron Metro Park. And therefore, be it further resolved that the Charter Township of Van Buren recognizes that as the trail planning and design efforts continue, it may be necessary to make modifications to the route of the trail, and therefore, be it further resolved that any deviations from the above described route will be brought back before the Charter Township Board of Trustees for further review and consideration.
Okay. I need support. Trustee Frazier? Okay, come on up, Director Akers, could you take us through this?
Yes, I'll, what I'll do is I'll give an overview of the portions of the resolution, and then I'll, look to answer some of the questions that were asked at work study yesterday. So, as it indicated, there's a proposed resolution before the board to consider. The proposed resolution in the motion was to consider the East Huron River Drive route on the east end of the township, and then the Denton Road through Van Buren Park on the west portion of the township. The one thing that I wanted to highlight about this route is that it is the recommended route from the engineers PEA who did the alignment study, but also the resolution includes language, as was spoken by Trustee White, which indicates that, you know, as we're going through this process of engineering the route and as we're going through this design process and meeting with other applicable agencies like Wayne County, if there are any changes or any roadblocks that come up, we are going to bring them back before the Board of Trustees for consideration. What I wanted to do was highlight some of the responses to the questions that were asked last night at work study. I know there were a few that were addressed. Specifically, we were asked to provide the attorney's opinion to the Board of Trustees regarding the sidewalk and snow removal ordinances that was emailed out this morning. We were asked regarding traffic counts along the proposed route on the eastern half of the township. And just to highlight them, SEMCOG does traffic counts every so often for different areas within its jurisdiction. They recently did traffic counts in Van Buren Township for these stretches of road. These are the most recent ones. So they did in 2000, I believe it was 2012. They did the traffic counts between Martinsville and Haggerty at 3,320 average annual trips or average annual daily traffic. For the East Huron River Drive route between Haggerty and Martinsville, they had 4,045 average annual daily traffic trips. And then on Bemis Road, they evaluated it between Martinsville and Haggerty, and they had 2,904. And those are both emailed to the board this morning. The other comment that we were asked to provide information on are with regards to the township's general liability policy. The township does have a general liability insurance coverage through MMRMA. Our general liability coverage limits $15 million, and our certificate of coverage was sent out this morning as well. The other question we were asked was with regards to the grants and the due dates, and I believe Mr. Smith from PEA addressed those. And then the last item that I want to touch on that was asked for and how we plan to address it is with regards, we have a meeting with Wayne County tomorrow at 2 p.m. We're going to, Mr. Smith and I are going to meet with the county reps down in the permit office to discuss items regarding, you know, the trail and drainage, some of the technical engineering requirements that the county may require, but we're also planning on bringing up some of the other items that were addressed, such as speed limits on East Huron River Drive and Martinsville Road, and then timelines for the bridge replacement project that's going to be occurring on East Huron River Drive as well. So with that, those were the questions we were asked to provide answers to, and based on that, we look forward to board discussion.
Do you have a picture of the trail route? Can you put it on that? Can you put it on that? Does that work? So people in the homes can see what it is?
Might need a little bit of help from Nicole, but
Okay.
there is a way to, oh,
There
perfect.
she goes.
Thank you, Nicole. But yeah, give me just one
Trying
moment.
some of our new technology.
This one.
No, he's talking about these
An actual
ones.
picture?
Yeah.
Like a photo?
There you go. Oops, upside down. Okay. Actually, what I was looking for was a map.
Here's
Oh.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Akers while the public can actually see this that's in TV land? We already had public input. What would it be? Actually, the traffic, to us, to me, the traffic count wouldn't have mattered. In fact, the more traffic, the more I would want a sidewalk or path. So, but it was a question that was asked, so we got the answer. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, then I guess we're ready to vote. We have a motion by Trustee White.
No, we're not ready to
We're not
vote.
ready to vote. I
Then
mean,
go ahead.
comments.
What question do you have?
I'd like to hear what the board has to say about this.
What board?
This board, yes.
Does anybody have any questions?
So, yes, let's have questions. Let's have a discussion. Because we
Good.
represent all of you, we should be asking the questions. I'd like to hear from the board members on how they feel about this. So, please.
I'll go first. When 2 years ago, when I first started looking to put in sidewalks, I walked here on River Drive. It was dangerous. I heard from a lot of people that they wanted sidewalks. We started looking for money for sidewalks when we discovered the Iron Bell Trail, and how we could not have found that before, I don't know. We discovered there was a lot of money involved with putting in sidewalks. So we went after this aggressively. We got a grant from Wayne County. We got, Director Wright got a grant from the DNR, thank you. We used that money to develop the engineering to go after more money. Obviously, it worked out pretty well. And in my mind, at least the reason I began doing this, and the board pushed because they wanted to do it too, was that we had a master plan that was done by your group a couple years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, which called for making Van Buren a more walkable community. And the idea was to build out this Iron Bell and then use that as the backbone for a walkable community, so we could branch off that and bring in other community subdivisions, so they could all be attached into Belleville. And and so therefore I am absolutely for this. It's doable. The Huron River Drive one is picturesque. The state likes it. The Waterloo people like it. They're more apt to fund it. I like the idea of going down to Country Walk in your area, but the problem, because there's so many people that I would like to link into the city of Belleville, but the problem is that once you get down to your population area, in my mind, you've still got to go 2 more miles then, or 3 more miles, $3 million more to link into the Huron Metro Parks. So I don't think we're going to get $3 million more, 2.3 I've heard, to get this done. Long story short is, this is doable. I think we can get the money. It could be the beginning of a backbone for a walkable Van Buren Township. And that's what I'm hoping this becomes. That's mine.
I'll go. So you want to hear? Like I said last night, my name is Leon Wright. I'm the clerk for Van Buren Township. I'm also the liaison for the Park and Recreation Committee. And this kind of spearheaded from the Park and Rec. Well, it did spearhead from the Park and Recreation Committee. Once we learned that there was something that we could attain, which was orchestrated through the state, we jumped all over it. The ideal has always been planning through the Parks and Rec, just to make Van Buren Township a more walkable, rideable, bike rideable community, so that you can the community people, the residents of the community, can get from one place to another without having to jump in a car and drive. Um, I would I would support this project no matter which route it went because of the accessibility that we have. If I would I would endure if it came down Taylor Road. I'm an avid bike rider. I see some of the faces. I've seen some of the faces that ride bikes. I see if you really want to see people riding bikes coming off the corridor that we are recommending, I suggest you get in your car and or get on your bike and ride down to the front part of Lower Huron Metro Park early on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, and you'll see those bikers filing off of Huron River Drive, coming into Lower Metro Huron Park, which has a bike trail that goes about 32 miles, and that's what's going to attract the bulk of the riders. When we're talking about making it more accessible, you're going to get riders that's avid bike riders that's going to that's going to come down uh, East Huron River Drive from Washington, from Canton. They're gonna abut from all other communities just to get to Van Buren Park, which now most of them, if they're not local, they have to get in their cars and they put their bikes on their cars and they drive to the Lower Huron Metro Park and they ride that route. But if they can ride their bike there on a safe trail, they will. So yes, I know, like I said last night, this is a hard decision for any board member to make because you're always going to have opposition of anything that you bring forth. There's going to be some opposition. We understand that. I understand that. That's why I want to hear everything that you have to say, and I take all that into consideration. But as I've always said, my job as a trustee of this township is to put the residents first and make my decision based on what I think is best for the majority of all the residents. And I think this is a viable project that's going to benefit the majority of all 30,000 plus residents of the township, and I support it 100%.
Supervisor. I fully support this trail because I believe that all of us need to put our left foot in front of our right foot, turn the TV off, and get to walking a little bit. I think it's very beneficial to all of us. I fully support this route, but I have had requests for this route also to come down West Huron River Drive into the city because a lot of people on the western side of the township wanted to come that way. I didn't have an answer for them. Also, there is no fee for a bicycle when they enter into Lower Huron Metro Park. When you enter the Metro Park, you can bike all the way to Lake Erie and back if you take your lunch and you're strong enough and have enough stamina to do that with. Be ready for tired legs because if you haven't ridden a bike that long or whatever, you will be tired. Also, as I stated, it'll go all the way to the Lake Erie Metro Park. Another thing is if you have the stamina, the guts, the willpower, and the desire, in just a very few years, you will be able to go to Iron Mountain on the bike trail. However, you are not allowed to ride your bike across Mackinac Bridge. The bridge will bring a truck to pick up your bike and put you in a van and drive you across. I think the fee is minimal, 50 cents or $1 or something like that. So that'll be another exciting thrill. I'm very pleased that we are entering into this, and it's supposedly will not be completed until about 6 or 7 years from now. So there'll be small portions that are completed here and there, but this is a long-term deal of about 7 years to complete this, as we are currently told. I think it's definitely a benefit to Van Buren Township. We have a lot of young residents who exercise regularly. It will benefit them right off the bat. We have a lot of kids and with parents that are really going to enjoy getting on their bicycle and riding on that path. We also have a lot of seniors who will ride a portion of the path, okay? But, you know, myself and my wife, we walk it mostly instead of biking it. Both of our bikes have flat tires. They haven't been off the garage roof in about 5 or 6 years because we enjoy walking it and stopping and getting off and looking and walking into the bushes to chase a snake or a rabbit or something and see what's going on there. But this is a great advancement and improvement for the health and wellness of our township, and I fully support it. Thank you, Supervisor.
Through the chair.
Actually, it's Trustee Martin and
Oh,
then
okay.
Trustee Miller.
I think the Iron Bell Trail is a great asset to Van Buren Township. It will link our communities, it will link us to our metro parks, and I just think it's beneficial to be healthier. I may even get out there and dust my bike off and ride also. I just think it's a good situation for our township. I'm in favor of it. I'm in favor of the selected route also.
Trustee Miller.
So, most of you know, I'm Reggie Miller, Van Buren Township trustee, and I do ride these trails. I ride Savage, I ride Huron River Drive, Martinsville, every year, each year. So I know these roads well. I can say that. And I want you to know that the Iron Bell Trail was originally set to be, and it's 2 trails that will span the entire state of Michigan. One's for hiking and one's for biking. Ours is for both, actually. And the proposed trail is 7 miles long and will cost approximately $7 million. Van Buren Township aggressively pursued grants, donations, and funding sources to make this happen. I am not opposed to the trail concept, absolutely not. I'm pro-trail. I want to encourage recreational opportunities and a healthy lifestyle. That's what we've all said we wanted. There has been many discussions, and a strategic plan was to market our beautiful Belleville Lake, our premier lake community, and possibly make VBT a downtown destination. And if you look at the, according to SEMCOG, our lake, according to the strategic plan, was the focal point. We have 25 miles of shoreline in Van Buren Township, and the accessibility to that is limited. We need to make this lake available not just to those that live on the lake, but to all our residents. We were encouraged to leverage our location, a daytime destination. Make them come and spend the day here. So, I support the concept absolutely of this trail. And I think we all do, but here's the rubbing point. But not in my backyard. Not here. We want the trail, but we don't want the locations, and that's difficult. I've spent many hours, as I'm sure most of this board, to go over the details, the pros, the cons, but most importantly, the safety of our residents. So that part I'm okay with. Now I'd like to hear about the rest of where this is going to go. I remember that we accepted a grant for $30,000 so that we can hire PEA who would be able to choose the most suitable trail. The township paid another $10,000 in matching services, and the park and the master plan sent out a survey asking what the residents wanted, and hiking and biking trails were important to them. So I'd like to hear more. I don't want to steal anything from you as to what you were going to propose, but the detail is incredible that I went into to make a decision. It was not lightly. I walked the trails. I got on each road on foot and looked at it closely. That being said, I'd like to hear more about what proposed route we're looking at. I know what was
Pardon me,
presented, so.
Reggie, in my motion, I propose the Eastern River Drive to Haggerty.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the
Yep.
Dent Road, Eastern Huron River Drive is the motion that's put forward.
And
Sold on it. You might have proposed it, but I'm not sold on it.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're not sold on the Edison Lake?
Just said that. I walked, I talked. Yes, I'm not sold on either one.
Propose another route?
No, I want to hear, sometimes, I'd like to hear what Ron has to say about this, a little bit more.
What could he say?
He's not making the decision.
It's our decision now,
Well, then why are you up there?
because he's here to give information.
I'm
If you ask
available
him
for
questions, he'll give you
questions
the
if
information.
they're there.
All right. What was originally recommended and why? How did we arrive here? Let's start with that. I'm sure everyone wants to know.
The alignment study, which was prepared, and Mr. Smith, maybe you're a better person to address, the details of the alignment study, but they do look at a number of different factors in the community. Give me just 1 second. So they evaluated a number of routes within the community, and they created a quantitative scoring system for how they address them. So they looked at 10 categories for each of these routes adjacent to on these roads. They looked at residential accessibility, commercial and institutional accessibility, trailhead opportunities, connectivity, which looks at connectivity tying into where the routes are in other communities and where they tie in, recreational opportunities, safety, scenic variety, viability of long-term maintenance, feasibility of development, and property acquisition feasibility. So they went through the alignment study. Was a quantitative analysis which evaluated several routes within the community, and the routes that scored the highest were the recommended routes. So that was through Van Buren Park, down Denton Road, into the city of Belleville, and then down East Huron River Drive over the bridge to Haggerty and into the Metro Park.
So who came up with this point system?
PEA.
PEA. And it's what I'm sure PEA uses for all the trails, correct?
PEA is here.
Yeah, I'm looking at them.
It's actually a system that was developed by the National Park Service for rating trails nationwide, and it's a common rating system. And then you can modify, it's typically just for ease of math, it's a 100-point system. And you can modify, we've used this in 15 different communities maybe, but you modify it based on the type of community. So being that this is more of a suburban community, if we were doing this in a rural area or like out in Montana, we might weigh the scoring system slightly different for what the issues are. But yeah, it's a common system so that you can have some sort of data points to make decisions. But keep in mind that the Iron Bell, it is intended to showcase the highlights of the community. So things like making these key connections, going from like Hydro Park to Van Buren Township Park, that was a key connection to connect people to parks from neighborhoods, connect people from Belleville to Van Buren Park. And so that's why there's a lot of park connections you'll see along it, as well as churches, schools, walkability. So it's inherent with these type of scoring systems. If you just ran the route, say like way down Bemis Road or like way out away from things, they just don't score quite as well. They might be more scenic, but they don't. That's why it's a balance system, and each category gets roughly the same amount of points.
I think the residents need to know how we got here. And I wanted to, may I, Board, ask another? So ADA accessibility, how is that factored in, and will it be factored in?
Yes, well, it is and it isn't, because as part of, this is a planning exercise, as part of design, it's going to have to be designed to be ADA accessible. So things, if you're looking at a route, and even some of the safety things that we're rating, we're looking at it from our engineering perspective as to how it would be if you actually built a pathway there. So say if you look at the Haggerty Huron River Drive crossing right now, is a pedestrian crossing. That's not safe. That would score terrible. But we're looking at it as if it was a fully engineered and constructed pathway so that you would have push button, ADA push button pedestals. So you can wheel up in a wheelchair, push a button. It would set a timer clock. It gives you 20 seconds to cross the street. So we're looking at it kind of like 3 steps down the road. So ADA is factored into all that, but it'd be trail ADA standards. And so certain areas, like if you're familiar with Van Buren Township Park, there's a lot of hills in there. So there's some challenges with that. So we had to look at that to see, is it feasible to build it, make it up to code, but that's been considered quite heavily.
And Edison Bridge?
Yeah, it needs to be rebuilt. I mean, that's, parts of it need to be rebuilt.
Okay.
And so does the bridge coming into, and we looked at that in terms of feasibility, construction, and potential costs. Because if you also look at down Denton Road, that bridge coming into Belleville, that sidewalk is not safe. It's like 3 or 4 feet wide. So that's a factor that in time, that if that route is on here is one of the preferred routes, but knowing that that route, when they replace the road, it wouldn't be a good use of money to go spend the money to just build a pedestrian bridge, but when they replace the road, to then put it in a plan with the county to replace pedestrian accessibility. And that was one of the factors going down Rawsonville Road. You notice that's not on the route, but getting across the Huron River was a major factor. It's extremely expensive.
And how, and maybe the supervisor can answer this, how do we minimize truck traffic?
You've been on Huron River Drive?
Mm-hmm.
I can't figure out why trucks are on that road anyway, because there's just nowhere for them to go. But it is a Class A road, and because it's a Class A road, we've already talked to the county, we cannot divert truck traffic.
Well, I think it's important
Yeah.
to bring up. All right.
Although I did hear somebody say they wanted to lower the speed limit, and I'm all for trying to do that.
And you mentioned that yesterday.
Mhm.
And how could we actually do that?
Well, you have to petition the county, and the county petitions the state. And,
We're having a meeting tomorrow with the head of engineering for Wayne County to talk about that.
Yeah.
It's to lower the speed limit, but we'll be talking about that. And again, keep in mind, it's a side path. So when we were out there doing our analysis of Huron River Drive, I personally find it terrifying to be along that shoulder. But again, you would not be on the road. You'd be probably 10 feet off of it on a side path. So
I
it's a
understand.
lot less intimidating.
I've taken that path many times.
Yeah, I mean, so you
Yes.
know how it feels.
Yes. All right.
Okay, all set? Trustee Frazier, you're.
Well, I see it as, just one comment. The point system, as Trustee Miller brought up, the point system, as I remember for Huron River Drive, they got 700 and something points. And the next route wasn't even close, right? Or there wasn't, it was a larger gap than in Huron River Drive. What I'm getting at came out far ahead of the second best.
Yeah, it was about 10 points different.
Oh, I thought, I asked that.
On a scale of 100. So it was like
okay.
81 and 72 or something like that.
Okay, 80.
So from a point perspective, yeah, there's a difference. I mean, 10 points is quite a bit, actually, in the
Okay.
scoring things.
Okay.
But there's also another factor there that was brought up earlier, I guess it's cost. That we didn't really build that in heavily here, but it's a little bit factored into the feasibility development. But again, if one route costs approximately 2.3 million more than the other, that's a,
Considerable.
potentially you could approve it and then it just wouldn't be feasible because there won't be any money available to actually build it. You could probably only build a portion of it.
Well, I'd just like to start off by saying that we are a successful and growing community because we seek partnerships and grants, which are key to giving our residents amenities that make our township a desirable place to live and raise families. We could never afford to do something like this on our own, and we could never, therefore, we couldn't encourage healthy living to the point that we can with this trail route. I'm not happy with the way that we communicate it to our community. I think we could have done a better job. I think every homeowner that was going to be affected should have gotten a notice from the township saying this is being considered, and we'd like, you to be aware of the meetings that we're having. But this didn't just start this year. Last year, the Director of Recreation had this same kind of public hearing where we had diagrams and we had proposed routes at the high school. So and then we've had opportunities to get public input before. But because it's a tough decision and it's coming to a vote, I am encouraged by the amount of response that we've had from our residents on this issue. Never think that your voice isn't being heard, because it is being heard. Sometimes the decision doesn't go the way you want, but you getting involved is key to keeping a democracy strong and keeping a township moving forward. So I just want to say that. Let's see, we've already paid $30,000 out for engineering plans through PEA. They're professionals. They've done it in Washtenaw County. They're linking us up with Washtenaw County. They're connecting all our parks, which we have a large investments in parks in Van Buren Township. We have the Van Buren Park, Riggs Park. We have Lower Huron Park. We have a lot of park amenities for our residents. So they've taken into consideration connecting all the parks, and they're professionals. Now, they've studied it. They've used a national rating system, and they came up with several different routes that were proposed. One of them was Huron River Drive, which was recommended by the engineers. And as far as I'm concerned, it highlights one of the gyms in Van Buren Township that is underutilized, and that is Belleville Lake. People think that the city of Belleville owns Belleville Lake. Well, guess what? Van Buren Township owns Belleville Lake, and we don't make it a highlight of our community enough as far as I'm concerned. So I think we could improve upon that. And I like the scenic route better. I know that it has tremendous safety considerations, but I think we're going to work with the county on getting, if we can get the speed limit lowered, we might be able to. You never know. Eureka Road had their speed limit raised. So don't shake your head no. It can happen. I'm just talking about one place that got it done. That was Romulus. So I eliminated the ITC recommendation simply because it was too restrictive. ITC puts a lot of restrictions on a community that comes on their property. We would have tremendous liability as a township if we used the ITC property. And I don't like the fact that there's electromagnetic fields that bikers would be going under and kids would be going under. So I had to eliminate that. Savage Road, we got the most dissent against the proposed Savage Road route. And that was, I personally didn't like Savage Road because there's 12 subdivisions on Savage Road. There's a school, and that is a major, there's buses coming in and out of there. They have evening performances there. You know, they do other things. It may be, you know, some people may think it's safer, but personally, I think the congestion on Savage Road would not be good. And I didn't take this lightly. This has been a tough decision. I mean, you know, it's not an easy decision. And I've been on boards before where I've had to make tough decisions. The toughest decision I ever had to make was in the 80s on the school board, bringing sex education to schools. So I've been through it. So I think this is a really tough decision, but one that we have to do, and we have to move forward. We have to give our residents amenities like the Iron Bell Trail.
Okay. Treasurer Bud?
I support the idea of a trail. I think there were things wrong with both of them. Once again, I think the cost of the IT corridor was something that we really had to consider. I also didn't like it going through the trail, and we were going to have to be responsible of cutting the grass on that area, so I think that would have been much more expensive for the township. So And we hired professionals to tell us what they thought was the best one. I do appreciate all the letters I got, and I know we got letters from people on Eastern River Drive that aren't happy with that. I hope that when it does go through, they'll work with those residents and we can help them to solve their problems so that they will feel comfortable when this does ever, when it does get built, that they will feel comfortable with that. Once again, I thank you for your letters. I do have them all here, and I understand the concerns from the people from Country Pond. I understand that. And so I will support this because I would like to see the connection trails.
Okay, I'm gonna call for a vote.
One more.
Okay.
You know, and since last night, I spent a great deal of time. I was up till 1 a.m. going over all this, making a decision. I walked that Huron River Drive, and I walked down to Edison, went across, went around the dam, looked at it all. But you have to know that even with all that, if you consider reducing the speed limit, how do we keep our residents safe from not getting hit by a car mirror? That's a concern. And I know this board will look into that. And the snow and the maintenance, we need to address that. The budget, we need to address that just for this trail and to stay on task. That's important. And reports need to be given to this board. We need to make it safe for not only the homeowners, but also the cyclists. And yes, I understand that bicyclists need to make it safe for themselves, but you have drivers who nowadays are distracted, who veer off because they're looking at their phones. And is 35 miles enough? No, it's not enough. And when a car and bike collide, it can be fatal. So that's a huge concern for me.
All right, did you,
One-
30
one-
seconds, right?
Sure, that's
Okay.
all. And the only comment I want to make is I'm very pleased with the actions of the board and the residents on how we came to this agreement on the Iron Bell Trail. But I'd also like to ask one question. This board has made a decision for every foot of that trail from the western part of our township to the eastern part of our township going into the metro park. No changes can be made to this unless they come before the board again for
Written into the resolution.
no changes.
Okay. All right, I'm going to call this to a vote. I have a motion for approval by trustee White, and it's been supported by trustee Frazier. It is to consider approval of resolution 2019-07, which is a resolution of support for the Iron Bell Trail within the Charter Township of Van Buren. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
PEA Associates, there are a few homes that are very close to the road that railing that we discussed, the fence, that would be, I'd like you to talk to those owners when we get down to designing it.
I would encourage any homeowners in the township, as we're moving on to preliminary engineering, if they have concerns about proximity, if they're on the route,
Mm-hmm.
reach out to Ron,
Reach out to Ron or reach out to me, Mr. Monty.
and then we can have one-on-one discussion with them. We can meet them.
Yes. Okay.
Please keep reaching out to the board.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're moving on now. We're over to the original line item number 1, which is to consider approval of an amendment 2019 annual budget, amending the 2019 annual budget, which is our state forfeiture fund, to go out and purchase body-worn cameras for our police department. We will be, yes, trustee Martin.
I make a motion to approve amending the 2019 annual budget, the state forfeiture fund portion,
Okay.
and purchase body-worn cameras for our police department.
Support.
I heard 2 Who?
Support.
Who? Miller?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Director Lorraine, could you tell us about body-worn cameras?
Yes.
2 years in the making.
For our audience and also for our viewers at home, last night at our work study, as you well know, I presented to the board and we had discussion on purchasing body-worn cameras for police officers in our department. With that being said, for the last 4.5 years, Van Buren Police Department has been researching equipment for the police department and purchasing body-worn cameras to promote transparency, accountability, and to mitigate risk imposed by civil litigation. Storage and capturing of such footage would be stored on an existing 100 terabyte server that has been already purchased through the generosity of the Van Buren Civic Fund. This is not a cloud-based storage solution and the most economical way to store electronic data. MMRMA, which is our insurance carrier, it's the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority, will provide up to $500 reimbursement per video or body-worn camera that we purchase through this risk avoidance grants program. Clemens class crash and citation revenue, along with state forfeiture revenue, will be utilized for this purchase, so there's no cost to the taxpayers using their funds. I also am asking for support to move forward with this project in an effort to continue to build trust, be more transparent to our community, and for body-worn cameras to be part of our officers' everyday uniform. This will not only hold our officers accountable for their actions, but it will also hold everyone around them accountable, including public and other first responders accountable as well. I also requesting the board to consider and purchase of 35 body-worn cameras, including any necessary auxiliary material, for the cost of $45,000 to be expensed through the state forfeiture fund.
Okay. A lot of, for 2 years we've been talking about this, and the whole board has been talking about it. And for 2 years, we've been watching everybody else out there, all the police departments. We've been running our own little internal research and development projects here. We've built, we've saw the mistakes made by other departments where they're stuck with six-figure storage problems with investing in cloud-based things. After 2 years of research and 2 years of trial and error, and slowly but surely building up a large terabyte storage system in-house, I'm probably the ones that slowed this process down more than anybody else, out of fear from hearing other communities what problems they had with these. But now we're ready. We've done our homework. We've done it the right way. We let everybody else make the mistakes. Van Buren Township is ready for body cams on their place, I believe. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I did. Yes, Treasurer Bud.
I'd like to make amendment to the motion so that it would include that the budget would be amended by transferring $45,000 from the state forfeiture fund balance to the capital outlay 266,000,970 and approve the purchase of the 35 body-worn cameras, including any necessary materials, for a total cost of $45,000.
Support.
Yes. What would that change be?
They just need to add what the amended motion is.
Okay. Did you get that? Okay. I'm sorry, it's Clerk Wright's turn. I'm sorry.
Just
Clerk
like
Wright.
to make a short announcement. MMRMA, which the director mentioned, is the insurance company that insures the township for all the risk and liability. I'm the risk manager for the township, and body-worn cameras is something that we've been talking about. I'm also a board member for MMRMA, and we meet monthly to talk about the risks that townships and city has going forward and how they can mitigate them. This is one area in which it can be mitigated by wearing body-worn cameras. The big issue was that a lot of townships and especially smaller townships and cities, couldn't afford them because of the data storage. We have been lucky enough to receive funds to cover that data storage, and now we can move forward. So what this means, this is going to minimize our everyday risk for our public safety officers, and also, like this public safety director indicated, also make it more accountable, not only make our employees more accountable, but the public more accountable on how their actions are too. Because the township go through a lot of lawsuits. I'm the one that represents the township in regards to the lawsuits when they happen. And this is going to increase our probability of winning a lot of those lawsuits because you're going to have more data. You're going to have the actual occurrence that can be seen. The car can only pick up so much. These body-worn cameras can pick up everything from going into the house, coming out of the house. Some things may have to be redacted, but it will give a more clear picture of exactly what happened, what's happening in the incident, and who's telling the truth. And I think and also the most important part is cut the liability in half. Our officers are doing a great job now. The instances is down dramatically for the year, but this is going to help tremendously going forward in our rates and occurrences, which is what escalates our insurance rates. Thank you.
Trustee Frazier, but just 1 second. I have to do a housekeeping. Trustee Martin, you made a motion, and Treasurer Bud made a slight amendment to it to a different fund. Do you accept that change? Because you're the maker of the motion.
Yes.
Okay, and Trustee Miller, you accept the change? Thank you. Trustee Frazier, please.
I just want to say that we're fortunate to have a forward-thinking public safety department that tries to stay up on everything and keep public safety at a top notch that we offer. And I hope that we're going to get training for our officers in order to know how to use this, because they're not going to have their camera on all the time. They have to know how to turn it on and off, I would suspect, in different things about how to
Goes on and off.
plug it in at night. You could have maybe shown a picture so the public could have seen it with our camera there. We should have probably. But anyway, the training is covered in the funds that we're going to get. We're authorizing tonight, or the training's going to come out of another fund, because I'd like to see it all covered at one time.
Training and getting acclimated with the body-worn cameras will be a process that we go through. We're just not going to throw a body camera on an individual and throw them a magazine or throw them instructions and say, here you go. There's also policy involved. So it's going to be in phases. The first phase, when that body camera comes in, it'll be given to the patrol officer, and the training involved will be done at roll call, which they won't be on overtime. It'll be during their regular roll call first thing in the morning. They'll be given the body camera. They'll be given instructions how to use that body camera. And for the first several months, and I'm talking from, we're hoping to get them in within a month or two. So from maybe May or end of June, when they get them, to all the way to the end of August, probably the 1st of September, middle of September, they're going to have an opportunity to wear these every day, play with them, take video on them, and get experience on them, and also learn the policy, when you can have to have it on, when you don't have to have it on. These body cameras are all set up that when you're driving around in the car, as soon as you put your overhead lights on, the body camera is activated. If your vehicle is over 85 miles or 80 miles an hour, the body camera is activated. So there's safeguards in place there that camera comes on. So they'll be trained, no extra cost of training. That's already built in roll call training. They'll be there every day. Plus, they'll have that time to feel comfortable for it. They'll go over the policy, and how it covers it, and what the state mandates are on it. And then at the very end of the season, at the fall, then we'll start implementing it on the road.
Okay. So this would cover the training comes
Yes.
with the camera. Okay.
It's all roll call training.
Anybody else?
Just one quick comment. It's been about probably 10 years now when we first talked about this, not 2, but 10, when the Public Safety Committee brought it up, and technology just wasn't there yet. Server issues were a big problem, so I'm so pleased that we're finally getting these cameras and that you'll have the training in place and these officers will go have this added protection, and kudos to your department for pursuing this. And the insurance was a huge factor here, so glad to see this implemented, and look forward to seeing those cameras on those officers. And they are waterproof if they have to dive in. That was
Yes.
also explained, so.
And there was another question asked about them falling off their uniforms. They have magnetic adhesives that go onto the clothes. So when they were showing how it worked, you'd almost have to rip and tear your clothes off to get that body camera off their body. So we look at that about losing equipment. This has been a long time in the making. Like you said, it's probably been around 10 years since we first talked about it when you're in the Public Safety Committee. But in the last 4 years, we were like the township supervisor. We erred on the side of caution. We didn't want to pull the trigger. We wanted to learn more. And
A
we're
lot
here.
of
so that's
nightmares.
great.
A lot of departments are having a lot of nightmares because they got into this without realizing the costs. We took our time. The technology's come around. The Civic Fund bailed us, helped us out here too. So time's right. Okay, before I go to second, you wanted to speak again? Okay. Does anybody else want to speak on this issue? No?
I just want to say the transparency, residents should be pleased with the opportunity that the public safety is giving our residents to have transparency in what happens with a police stop or the police coming to their home or any incident that happens. And I think that's a good thing whenever you have transparency.
Call for the vote. I have a motion for approval by Trustee Martin. It's been supported by Trustee Miller. It's to consider for the purchase of 35 body-worn cameras for the police department. Hearing no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? This motion passes. Thank you very much, Director.
Thank you, and thank you for the board for your support.
How long before you're wearing body cameras?
Depending on when we can get them, and then, like, again, there'll be a training process put in. I'm hoping to have them by the end of May, that you're gonna see officers wearing them on a regular basis. But again, we're not enforcing policy. They're learning the device, and they're also learning policy during the summer months.
And just for the public's knowledge, there still will be a camera like there is right now in the front of the cars.
That's
There'll be a
correct.
camera
We'll
in
have
the-
more
in the cars.
cameras. We'll have different angles. This is what's great about this.
So
The
we'll have
mobile
3
video
cameras per
camera
car.
could only capture what's out the side of the lens of the camera on the front dash of the car, and is what compared to the distance of the audio, that's all you're getting. You get into stores, you get into buildings, you get on a foot pursuit, you've lost your video, and you've lost your audio. With a body camera, the officer could be a foot pursuit and be 10 miles away, and you're not losing anything. You're capturing all the high resolution, it's HD video and audio.
Okay. Thank you very much, Director.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to take liberty on 2 and 3, even though they are first readings of ordinances. I can put them together for the first reading. So, this is to consider approval of the first reading of ordinance 041619-1 to rezone parcel V1258310590003-000, otherwise known as 13440 Martinsville Road, from M1 Light Industrial to R1B Single Family Residential. In addition, we're going to consider approval of the first reading of ordinance 041619-2 to rezone parcel V12583-10599-0004000, otherwise known as 13510 Martinsville Road, from M1 Light Industrial to R1B Single Family Residential.
So moved.
Clerk Wright? Who's that? Okay, Trustee Frazier. Okay, Director Akers.
Thank you. As we discussed at work study last night, essentially these are 2 properties. They each have existing single-family homes on them, and both are zoned M1 light industrial, where single-family homes are not a permitted use. Both properties are master planned for single-family residential districts as well. So essentially, as I had indicated, the owners are attempting to sell their properties, and their buyers are having trouble with obtaining financing due to the fact that the properties are legal non-conforming. So essentially, all they're asking to do is rezone their properties with homes on them from industrial back to residential.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
I'd just like to say that those residents actually thought their property was zoned residential until they started to sell them, and then it became known to them that it was industrial. So we owe it to them to change it, I think.
Okay.
Just one
Trustee
question.
White?
Is this the property that was possibly considered for a dog park a few years ago? Is the property next to the railroad track?
This property was never considered, to my knowledge, for a dog park.
But someone wanted to turn it into a dog park. Oh, it's not,
No,
it's-
that
oh,
wrong,
okay.
wrong property.
Okay. Hearing no further questions, I have a motion by Clerk Wright. It's supported by Trustee Frazier. Hearing no further questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? This motion passes.
Thank you.
Next item. This is for the approval of the selection of Gonzi's property maintenance for township grass cutting and related services for 2019 for the amount of $62,730. Trustee
So moved.
Frazier?
I'd like to make the motion for.
Support.
Trustee Miller? Okay. Director Best?
Yes, thank you, Board. Today, I'm bringing to you the Department of Public Services recommendation for the approval of the selection of Gonzi's property maintenance for the township grass cutting and related services for 2019 for $62,730. This was the result of an advertised sealed request for bid. The contract for services involves lawn cutting, landscape maintenance, and spring cleanup of various township-owned properties. This contract is for the 2019 season with an annual renewal option for up to 2 years. Gonzi Property Maintenance Company was the previous holder of the contract, which started in 2012 and was renewed ever since then. This request for bid was widely advertised. 2 sealed bids were received. Gonzi Property Maintenance was the low bid. After a careful review of their bid and a reference check, the Department of Public Services is recommending the approval of this contract to Gonzi Property Services. I'd also like to point out some of the changes and additions
That would be good.
for the previous contract to this new contract. Not only is the grass cutting services part of this, but the Fire Station 1 and Fire Station 2, where we have done all the work with the lighting and new landscaping and other things there and all the interior work that we've done. We've also added spring cleanups to this contract for around the fire stations and this building, as well as tree trimming and mulch work being done at the fire stations and this building. Further, the work that was well received by the community, where we cleared the brush and debris and weeds off of the bridge embankments in the spring of 2018, has been added to this contract as a related service, as a fixture to this contract. So we will continue to do that work as a standard practice from this point on under this lawn cutting and property maintenance contract. So the Denton Road Bridge and the Belleville Road Bridge will be cleared as part of this. Of course, all the other areas of township property will have the lawn cut and maintained properly. Gonzi has, he's unable to be here because it is spring and they're busy, but he was, when I spoke with him, he expressed his love for the township and we're happy to have, recommending him to be back this time, for the next session.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
Well,
Trustee Miller?
comments. So I'm glad to see that the difference between last year and this year, really none, other than we get more coverage. That's important. But what's really important is that our residents aren't complaining about the condition of our property and the cemeteries. So they're doing an excellent job. We should recognize that. And it's nice not to hear the complaints we once had. You know, the complaints we once had were tremendous. And Clerk Wright could attest to that as well.
Okay, thank you.
I just like to see through the chair. I just like to say Gonzi's have done a great job for the township in the past. I'm glad to see a local person. Most of them were all local, and we sent out bids to a lot of local people, but we only got 2 bids, and they were within $120. So I'm glad because we're getting more really for less when you look at it. So I'm always for getting more for less.
Okay, I'm not sure that, all right.
I mean, we
sure.
are getting more work
Yeah.
done by them, and it's the same
Excellent work done.
price, yeah.
Does anybody else have any comments?
Will this be the same price for the next 2 years? Or will we have a cost of living increase into that?
It's my understanding that this is the price that'll be for the next, if we renew it, it'll be the same price for the next 2 years.
Okay.
Could it go up though? I mean, what if the cost of gas goes up to $4 a gallon?
Are you
Who knows?
renegotiating our?
No, no, I'm just saying. I'm just saying,
Quit while you're ahead.
you know.
All right. I have a motion by trustee White, and it's been supported by trustee Frazier. Is trustee White? No.
No.
Trustee, I have a motion. Sorry, we've been skipping around a little bit.
Yeah.
I've got a motion by trustee Frazier, supported by trustee Miller, for Gonzi's grass cutting service. Hearing no further comments. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? This motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Next item is we have reports, which we have none. Next item is public comment from the public. Anybody wishing to make any public comment today? No? Okay, come on up. Sure. Normally, I'm supposed to say you have 3 minutes and we're not supposed to respond, but you're the only one here, so go ahead.
Oh, just to the police department, how is the replacement and the cost replacement? Is that going to be from the forfeiture fund also?
They have a 1-year warranty, and then after that, we probably would have to go with the replacement, with the.
Who does it? With the state forfeiture fund?
The state forfeiture fund, which we have about $150,000 in. Okay?
Thank you.
We had. I think we're about to spend 45,000 of it. All right. Let's see, any board comments?
I have
Go ahead.
one. I'd just like to encourage everyone to take a look downtown on 4th Street and take a look at the library. It's going up very well. They've got the roof on, or they're finishing the roof today, and they're going to start bricking at the beginning of May, is my understanding. So our tax dollars are well used.
Need a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Supported by Bud. Hearing no abstention, I call this adjourned.